What's up, everybody? Live stream number 2 for me today. Today, it's me going live on my Carbon page here. This is your time to ask questions about the app, ask questions about training, nutrition, anything really fitness related. So we do these live streams every Friday. So if you guys have questions about anything in the app or nutrition, anything like that, please leave a comment or put it in the question box thing on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, put them in the comments there, and I will be answering your guys' questions. You got the app, thank you. Let's see. Best way to track beer. Scale label. Best way to track beer, best way to track alcohol in general. You need to figure out the total calories in the drink, and then you need to account for those calories in your macros, because with Carbon, we don't give you an alcohol budget, like how many grams of alcohol you can have a day. So you need to account for that alcohol within your macros. Now, it's not a good idea to do that with protein, because we want to keep protein pretty steady. So what I would do is I would take the total calories in the drink, divided by either 4 or 9, depending on how you want to account for it. So if you want to account for the alcohol as carbs, you would divide it by 4, the total calories of that drink. If you want to account for alcohol as fat, you want to divide it by 9. So let's say you have a 100-calorie beer. That would be roughly 25 grams of carbs you would need to use to have that beer, or you would need to take 11 grams of fat and use that to drink that beer. So that's how I would track alcohol. And then in the app specifically, you can just create a custom food item that is specifically used for alcohol, so that you can use to account for alcoholic drinks. I wouldn't try searching for I wouldn't track the drink from the food database, just because it's not going to show really any carbs and fats for it, or the alcohol. So do it the way I'm saying. You're going to have to do some math if you want to have drinks, but that's going to be the most accurate way to do it. So good question there. I love the app. First time in years I've been able to lose weight. That's awesome, Courtney. I'm so happy to hear that. Does the app contemplates fasting? You can fast. You can do intermittent fasting if you want. That's just how you're structuring your day. So if you're hitting the same macros by the end of the day, it's certainly fine to do intermittent fasting in the morning if that's something you like doing. So good question there. Let's see. I got some on Facebook, YouTube. Good afternoon. My husband and I use the app and was wondering if there's a way to share meals, recipes between other users. Unfortunately, at this time, we don't have that feature. That's something we definitely want to include in the future. But right now, the way that my wife and I do it is she usually tracks the dinner because she's preparing it, and she'll track it in Carbon, and then she will just tell me what the total protein, carbs, and fats are for my meal, and then I just quick add it, usually for dinner. So that's how you have to approach it now. Either you both track it individually, or one of you tracks it and the other person just quick adds it. But yeah, we want to include that feature in the future. This question's kind of cut off on Facebook, I think, but if you check in a day early, Will, didn't get the whole question there, but I can maybe speak to a little bit of what happens when you check in early. So when you check in early, the app is going to look at the days in that check-in period. So let's say you check in 2 days early, and the app's only evaluating 5 days. It will scale the progress that you're supposed to make to those 5 days. So it's not going to expect you to lose that set rate, because that set rate is assuming 7 days. So it's going to kind of scale to what the amount of days that you have. So that's how checking in early affects things. Great questions. Thank you. That's what I've been doing. Yeah, that's the easiest thing that I find to do as well. How can I add food that is not in the list? So if there's a food that's not in the food database, there's multiple ways you can add it. You could just look at the label nutrition information if you have it and just quick add that, or if you're planning on eating this food more regularly, maybe make a custom food that you can reuse in the future, so it will save it for you. But yeah, you could quick add it. You can create a custom food. You can create custom recipes if you want to add multiple ingredients to a meal. So there's multiple ways you can do that. All right. After a moderately long fat loss period, can I start reverse dieting right away or go into maintenance for a bit? So, Sal, with the app, the way that it works is if you are in fat loss phase and then you change your goal over to reverse dieting, it's going to take you to your estimated maintenance. So where the app has determined your maintenance calories are at based on the check-in data that you had on the fat loss goal. So it is going to take you to maintenance basically when you start a reverse diet. And by definition, if you're going to maintenance, you're not going to be gaining weight. So that's usually where you want to start when you do a reverse diet. You start at your estimated maintenance. Your estimated maintenance is going to be lower than what your pre-diet maintenance was. So if you were able to maintain on, let's say, 2,000 calories before you did a fat loss phase, lost 10 pounds or so, your estimated maintenance is going to be lower. It's not going to be that 2,000. So don't expect you can go right back to that 2,000. And so I would go to reverse dieting after fat loss. That's usually the best approach so that you can get your metabolism back to a healthy place and see where you can kind of max things out with your metabolism. So go from fat loss to reverse. And if you're comfortable with your current, if you're content with where it's starting you out at your current estimated maintenance, that's fine. But if you feel like you need to actually increase a little bit faster, start maybe the calorie boost. Calorie boost is yeah, it's really to help you feel normal again right after a diet. So you're basically putting yourself into like a 10% calorie surplus right off the bat, which usually can help make you feel a bit more normal faster, but that will come with probably a little bit of weight gain. So that's just a personal preference thing. All right, back to Insta. Let's see what we got here. If I'm compliant with calorie and protein, but not carbs and fat, do I still mark myself as compliant at weekly check-in? Eric, it depends. So the app shows you what the app considers as compliant in terms of carbs and fats and protein for you. Obviously, you can shift your diet preference around. So having some variation in your carbs and fats isn't going to be the end of the world, but the app does have that compliance range set in it when you're checking in. So it will show you if you are a person that wants to just do calories and protein and not really worry about where your carbs and fats fall each day, I would definitely enable the macro calories feature. So that's a new feature that we just released a week or so ago, I think it was, and that will allow you to be a lot more consistent with calories and protein, so you're confident that you're eating the right amount of calories. Before, if you use the label calories, your calories can be pretty inaccurate and not necessarily add up to your macros. If you multiply protein, carbs, and fat by 4, 4, and 9, that will give you a certain amount of calories. Labels don't necessarily do that. So there's a lot of variation in labels. So if you're using label calories, I would recommend hitting protein, carbs, and fats, all of them. If you're using macro calories, you can get away with just doing calories and protein. So yeah, I personally do the macro calories feature, and then I don't stress too much about carbs and fats, although I do try to hit them on target. Great question. All right, we're getting a ton of questions here. um, let's see. Is soreness a common indicator of under-eating? Recently started intermittent fasting and finding myself more sore than usual after workouts, still hitting protein, 200 daily and 200 carbs. So it's soreness isn't necessarily an indicator for under-eating. It could be, but I think soreness is more an indicator of your training and how it's changed. So if your training is any different than it was before, you're going to be more sore. It's just a new stimulus for your body. So anytime that happens, anytime you have like a training change that you do, let's say you go heavier than normal, or you do more sets, or you change an exercise, that's something that kind of is a new stimulus that your body isn't necessarily used to. So that's when soreness really comes about. If you're in a really big calorie deficit, you may get more sore because you're not able to recover nearly as well if you're in a sustained calorie deficit. So it could be, but I would first look at your training and see if it's changed. Good question. I might lose my voice today because I had a live stream for an hour earlier today. So hopefully I keep my voice. All right. So maintaining on 2300 and now in a fat loss phase and hardly losing on 1700. This is likely because you are you're in a small deficit. So when you are maintaining on 2300, you might have been at the top end of your weight maintenance range. So maintenance isn't like just this set number, it's quite a big range because your body adapts to what your intake is. So you do have more of a range of maintenance. So your maintenance range may have been like 1900 to 2300 calories. You might be able to maintain your weight pretty steadily in that range. And so let's say it's 1900 to 2300. You are now, technically you could just be only in like a 200 calorie deficit, which is pretty small. So I think you are at the top end of your weight maintenance calorie range, and now you're just outside of the bottom end of that range. So you're probably going to need to actually take calories a little bit lower, but just let the coach take care of that based on the progress that you're making. It will find where you need to be eating to progress at the rate that you have set. So it is what it is. Your body, you got to just let your body do what it does and let the app do what it does, and see where things fall. Like a lot of people will diet for a long time. They'll get their calories up quite high, and they're going to be like really at the top end of that weight maintenance range. And then they think that that's like their maintenance, like the set number of their maintenance. So then they drop calories, a few hundred calories, and they don't lose any weight. And then they start freaking out thinking there's something wrong with them. But a lot of times it's, you're pushing at the top end of your weight maintenance range, and then now you're just at the bottom of it or just outside of it. So you probably have to take calories lower, unfortunately. Good question, though. Let's see. I got some on Facebook here. Trying to reverse. I keep getting / losing the same 50 calories over and over because of weight fluctuations week to week. I mark time of month during time of month. I've been 100% compliant since starting end of November. I just increased my allowed rate of gain to 0.6 to see if that helps. Anything else I can do? I've only increased 150 calories since the end of November. Heather, one thing that is sticking out to me when I'm reading this is, and I'm questioning, is how often you are weighing yourself and entering it into the app. If you're just weighing yourself on your check-in day each week, you could be catching yourself at a time where your weight is just normally higher and it's just a normal fluctuation. So I would definitely weigh more often. If you can weigh daily and enter that into the app, that's going to be huge. And then also, yeah, I think it was important you increase the allowed rate of gain. If you keep it too low, you are not going to be able to get calories up as high. And so I think bumping that up was a good choice. I recently was on reverse dieting, and I set it all the way down to the bottom, and I haven't been increased too much just because it was such a tight tolerance. So I think loosening that up is better. But yeah, way more frequently is my recommendation. And also another thing is, like, you may already have maximized your metabolism. You may not be able to get it any higher. Like, you can only do, like, your body isn't going to push past what your body can do. So this might be the max that you're able to get your metabolism. You might have to increase activity, do other things to offset that and be able to eat more calories. So that could be another thing as well. I don't know where your maintenance calories are at, and I don't know your weight or anything like that, but you may be maximizing your metabolism already. So you weigh daily, haven't gained any great amount of weight, maybe a pound. Yeah, so I would stick with the higher rate of allowed gain and see what happens. A lot of times being more towards the middle is usually probably a good approach because it's not so restrictive that the coach is scared to increase your macros, yet it's not so loose that you gain a ton of body weight. So see what happens. PS currently 170 at 1,750 calories. So that if you're 170 at 1,750 calories, and that's your maintenance, that's not great in my opinion, but I've certainly seen it, especially if you're inactive. So I don't know how many times you weight train a week, how active is your lifestyle, like how many steps do you get each day, how much cardio are you doing? These are all things that are going to impact the overall metabolism you have. So you may just need to be more active, but who knows? It's hard for me to know on this live. Any truth to a weakened immune system while on a long cut phase? Yeah, so you will, I think you will have a weakened immune system if you are in a deficit for too long. And also you have a weakened immune system if you're in an overtrained state. So both of those things can happen when you are in a calorie deficit for a long time. So you could have a weakened immune system if you are severely restricting calories and you're overtrained. So there is some truth to that, but generally speaking, losing body fat and being at a healthy weight and reaching a healthy weight is actually going to improve your immune system. All right. Let's see. So Jenny is looking to recomp. What setting should they choose? A lot of people want to recomp, but the reality is a lot of people can't recomp. Recomping is mainly going to happen when you are coming off of a layoff of training for a long period of time. You are overweight and new to, if you're overweight, if you're new to resistance training, you could possibly recomp. If you have always eaten a low protein diet and now you're going to eat a high protein diet, you could recomp. So there's certain scenarios where recomping can happen, but for the majority of people, they're not going to be able to do it, and then they're going to just spin their wheels. They're not going to make the progress that they want because they're trying to chase, they're chasing two different squirrels, going two different directions. And so it's best to focus on one thing at a time, like focus on losing body fat if that's your main priority, and then focus on building muscle if that's your main priority, because both of those are going to take a different approach to optimize it. So you probably want to be optimal with your approach. So focusing on fat loss and making that the priority is going to be more optimal than trying to do both at the same time and then making no progress. So there's no setting that we have in Carbon that it's like a recomp setting. If you think you're in a position where you can recomp and you are in one of those scenarios that I mentioned, just go with the maintenance setting, because the maintenance setting is going to maintain your current body weight. So if you maintain your current body weight and you can recomp, you will while you're using carbon. Great questions, everybody. Thanks everybody for joining as well. We got almost 60 people in on the Instagram, 16 on Facebook, YouTube. Appreciate you guys tuning in on Friday. We do these every Friday. Let's see here. Lots of questions. If I want to change my training frequency / intensity, do I have to reset the coach? So first of all, you should really never reset the coach. We have reset in there just for the people that might have really screwed things up and want to just start completely fresh, brand new, as if they just downloaded the app. But most of the time, what you want to do is you want to change your goal. You don't want to reset the coach. Resetting deletes all of your coaching history, all of your check-ins, all of that stuff. It won't delete your food entries, but it will delete all of the coaching data, and that is irreversible. So if you go through all the prompts and say, yes, I want to delete this, yes, I want to delete it, you are deleting everything and you are confirming that. So don't reset the coach unless you really want to reset the coach. But to answer your question, if you want to change training frequency and or intensity, it depends how much you're changing. So if you're changing a drastic amount, then I would create a new goal that matches your new activity level and training level. If it's just a moderate amount, moderate to small change that you're making, just keep rolling with the coach as is, because the coach is going to make up the difference. It's going to adjust to the new training that you're doing and figure out where you need to be eating to progress at the rate that you have set. So yeah, I wouldn't reset the coach, and I would only create a new goal if the change is drastic. So if you're just adding, a single day or something to your training, you don't need to change your goal for that. I would just keep going with the same goal. All right. Good question. Good questions. Will the app adjust calories if I weigh the same but with a higher weekly cal average? So if your weekly calorie average is non-compliant and you mark non-compliant, the coach is not going to do anything. Most coaches, even in person, if you aren't able to follow the nutrition plan, they have no idea if the nutrition plan is adequate or not. So the goal is to be compliant and reach a place where you are compliant. And then once that happens, then the magic really happens, where we're able to see and evaluate what is happening with your weight and what you're eating, and then adjust things to get the desired outcomes. So the app is not going to adjust if you mark non-compliant. And if you are higher than what the coach is recommending on average, you should mark non-compliant. So my recommendation is just focus on gaining compliance and being consistent, because that is going to be the baseline for making the progress that you want. Let's see. Holly on Facebook is asking, any chance you will add a notes section on each day of the app? I mean, there's a chance for anything, but I would say probably not. There's not many people that I think that would be useful for. If you want to keep notes, maybe just keep it in, I don't know, your calendar or something like that. But we're going to take all of these feature requests into consideration, but I would say that's a low priority feature that we would want to implement. So, but feel free to send a feature request into support through the app. There's like a drop down box that you can select feature request and then send it through, and we will see all of those. And those are going to help dictate where we go with the app in the future. We're going to look at what people are wanting, but a notes section, like I said, probably a low priority feature. All right. Timmy's asking, gained more weight than expected on reverse, probably mostly water. How many check-ins until maintenance calories are calculated? Maintenance calories start calculating the second you have like a compliant check-in. So it's going to start calculating it right away, but it's not necessarily going to be super accurate because if it's only based on one check-in, there's not much data that we can use to like figure out where your maintenance calories might be at. So the more check-ins you have, the more accurate it's going to get. I would say after about 4 compliant check-ins in a row, then you can be pretty confident that the maintenance calories that it's estimating in the app is accurate. And so just keep checking in, and after a few weeks of compliant check-ins, the number should be a lot more accurate and reliable. All right. In Army and occasionally go on field training exercises lasting 2 to 4 weeks, limited with MREs or meals the cooks make, no access to scale for check-ins, wait until exercise ends and check in as non-compliant. Yeah, I would, because you're not going to be able to, like you said, weigh yourself, and you're not going to be able to eat the target macros. So yeah, it's going to be very hard to be compliant during training like that. So just wait till you get back, mark non compliant, and then just pick up where you left off. All right. What are some good signs it's time to stop a building phase? I would say when you're happy with the level of muscle mass that you have added or you currently have, when you are when you are gaining weight at a rate faster than you want to gain at, and the coach would drop your calories down, I think that's a sign that maybe you're pushing things a little too fast, and you should probably stop. I think doing longer but less intense building phases is probably a better approach. Try not to go too fast with the building phase because building muscle takes quite a long time. So go with as slow as you can with gaining weight and building muscle, and well, not as slow as you can with building muscle, but as slow as you can with gaining weight, so that a higher proportion of the weight you're gaining is likely coming from muscle if you are training optimally. So those are some signs that say it's time to stop a building phase. And yeah, when your body fat gets to a level you're uncomfortable with. What are your thoughts on the set point theory? I certainly buy into that theory. Based on my own experiences in fitness and working with a bunch of clients, I buy into the set point theory, where our bodies have a set weight and range they like to be in, and that's kind of their normal homeostasis. They really like to be in that range, and it's not something that I believe is like completely set in the way that you can never change it. I think it's more like a settling point theory. I think it's more like settling point. So like where your lifestyle, where your training, where everything kind of settles in terms of what the outcome's going to be. I think that is more so what it is, instead of like this set point that your body has. But I think you can change it over time as well. Like when I first started in fitness, my set point was much higher in terms of body fat, and I felt normal. I felt great. And like as I gained muscle over time, and lost body fat. Like that became my new normal. I felt normal. The longer I kind of held that level of conditioning, and the more I got into fitness, that set point for me kept going down. Whereas now, like I've been in the fitness game for like 12 years now, so that I'm able to maintain 8 to 10% body fat year round and feel good. That's like my new normal. And anytime I really get above 10% body fat, that feels like I'm going outside of my kind of set point. Anytime I try to push below 8% body fat, that feels like I'm going outside of my set point range. So yeah, I certainly buy into the set point theory, and it's something I think you can change over time. So let's see. YouTube, we got Mako lost 145 pounds from 290 in 2018. Congrats, that's amazing. And I have some loose skin in my lower abdomen that's hard to not see as more fat to lose. How have you helped clients overcome this mental hurdle in the past? Yeah, loose skin. You like you said, you think it might be fat, but it's more likely just loose skin from your skin being stretched. And if you're young, your skin will likely tighten up and snap back a little bit, but you may have stretched it so much that it's not going to snap back completely. So it may be something that, if it's something that really bothers you, maybe you have to think about getting it removed, the extra skin. But you always can improve in terms of building muscle maybe in that area, or waiting for it to tighten up a little bit. But it's something that's really hard, I guess, to hurdle mentally, and each person's going to have their own unique needs in terms of how they can deal with it. So it's very individualized. It's very hard. But I think trying to focus on everything you have achieved so far, like keep the focus on how great of a job you've been doing. Like losing 145 pounds is amazing. Like that is such a large feat that you should be really proud of what you've achieved so far, and just look at it like, you are still on this journey. You're still working towards where you want to be, and just put your head down and keep working. What features are you currently working on adding? We are not currently really working on adding any new features at this moment in time. What we're focused on doing is improving the performance of the app, so that older devices and slower devices are able to use the app more efficiently. That's a huge priority for us right now, is focusing on performance and those types of things. So not necessarily new features in the direct pipeline for you guys, but once we get this performance, the performance improvements done and out the door, then we're going to be back to focusing more on implementing some cool features for you guys. So performance is our main focus right now. Does the app have built-in diet breaks? It does not. But a diet break is essentially just going to maintenance. So you can change your goal to maintenance and then change it back to whatever you had it before, and still implement a diet break in that fashion. But I personally think we need to include something to make diet breaks a little bit more easy and intuitive with the app. But that's something we're going to work on in the future. So my BMR is 1850, but in the app for fat loss, it shows recommended calories to be 1950. How come? So it sounds like even though you knew your metabolism, you didn't enter that into the app when you created your goal. So that's probably your mistake there. If you know what your maintenance is, you should enter that so that the app has that information. If you just let the app calculate where it thinks your maintenance is at, it could be a little bit off, which it seems like it might be if you know your BMR. So that's the reason why you didn't enter your maintenance. Let's see. Good questions, guys. Let's see what we got here. If reverse dieting for 4 to 6 weeks before vacation, go conservative or aggressive? I would say neither. I would go moderate. I would keep it probably in the middle of the range. Aggressive, you're gonna just add more body fat that you probably don't want to have for your vacation. If you go conservative, you're not really going to be pushing up your calories enough to make a considerable increase in 4 to 6 weeks. So I would say go moderate. All right. Is there a way, if you don't track one day, to omit it from the tracker so it doesn't do all 7 days but 6? So the coach doesn't pull any of that in, doesn't look at your diary entries. All it does when you check in, it asks if you were compliant to your macro targets. So if you don't track a day, it's not going to do anything different with the coach as long as you still say, yes, I was compliant, or no, I wasn't compliant. So you can omit 7 days if you want in the tracker, and you could use a completely different tracker if you wanted to, and that would be completely fine. So you don't really need to worry about that. When during cycle, to change to weight loss, week of, before, or after, doesn't matter. I think if you're going to change your goal, it's usually best to change your goal after you check in. So check in, do that, get updated macros if you need them for that goal. Then go and change your goal in settings, and that's gonna be better because you have another check-in that the app is taking into account when you're making that new goal. So check in first, then create a new goal. If you're compliant and have stayed the same weight for 7 days on a deficit, have been in a deficit for 7 weeks, now, is that a sign you should? It's cut off, but I'm assuming you're asking, is that a sign you should reverse diet or something like that? Staying the same weight for 7 days is absolutely nothing. It's very normal to not see weight changes every single week, and that's why the coach doesn't just look at a single week if you are compliant for multiple weeks in a row. So I wouldn't stress about it, to be honest. I would keep going with your current goal and see what happens over the course of more weeks, because 1 week is nothing in the grand scheme of things. All right. Would you ever do a diet break that's not maintenance but slow down the rate of weight loss, like going from 1 to 0.7 pounds a week? So basically, instead of taking a diet break, which is a week at maintenance, going from a rate of loss to a slower rate of loss. Yeah, I mean, you could do that. It's not going to have the same type of psychological benefit as going all the way up to maintenance would, but it's going to be better if you need that kind of mental break a little bit, it's going to be better than sticking at the current rate of weight loss. So, but I wouldn't call that a diet break because it's not a diet break. You're just dieting slower. So you can do it. It's all up to you. I personally usually just keep the rate of loss the same, but where can enter maintenance calories manually in the app? So when you create your goal, it asks you if you've been tracking your diet and know your maintenance calories. You're going to hit yes, and then it's going to give you a box that you can enter in your maintenance calories. And then the app will use those to determine what macros you need for the goal that you have set. So it's when you change your goal or you create your first initial goal with the app, it's going to give you the option to enter in your maintenance. How do you do serving sizes for custom macro represent a whole dish? Use decimals. What I would do here is I would make the whole dish and enter in all the ingredients. When you make a recipe, enter in all the ingredients for the whole dish, make the whole dish, weigh out what the full weight of the dish is in terms of overall grams, enter that in as the serving. So when you're making the recipe, enter in the total weight of it. And then when you go to eat any amount of it, you take the amount that you want to eat, put it on a scale, measure how many grams it weighs, then you just enter those grams into the recipe, and that scales the serving size to exactly what you need. So that's what I usually do if I create a recipe. Does the app change your rate of loss as you get leaner? It doesn't change the rate of loss at all on any of the settings. You set your rate of loss and it keeps it the same. But what does change, so the rate of loss is a percentage of your body weight. So as you lose weight, that rate of loss scales down as well. So the rate of loss, let's say you set it at, I want to lose 1% of weight per week. Now in the app, it shows the pounds that you're going to lose, but underneath, it's actually a percentage of your current body weight. So you set, let's say you set it at you're losing a pound a week. You set it on the slider. I want to lose a pound a week. Let's say that translates into 1% of your, or let's say it translates into 0.5% of your body weight. That 0.5% is what gets moved over each week, week by week. And the app evaluates if you're losing that 0.5% of weight. And so over time, as you lose body weight, that number is going to shrink a little bit by a little bit. So maybe by the end of your diet, if you first set it up to lose a pound a week, by the end of your diet, that 0.5% might be 0.8 pounds a week or something like that. So it will scale in that way. All right. Man, I'm really losing my voice here. I don't know how much longer I can talk. Let's see. All right. In reverse, if I want to take a 1-week diet break, do I change coach to lose weight or just be non-compliant? So diet breaks are when you're in a fat loss phase and you go to maintenance. So a diet break is not going to be you're in a reverse diet and then you go to fat loss or something. That's not a diet break. It's basically you want to take a break from increasing calories, maybe because you're gaining more weight than you want or something like that. I would probably just be non-compliant if you want to eat less that week and just do that, and then just pick up next week where you left off in terms of macros and let the coach take over from there. So only diet breaks are really only considered when you are doing a fat loss phase and you're taking it to maintenance. What formula is the coach using to predict body fat for the waist measurement? So we use just a simple, like quick and dirty calculation to determine your body fat estimate based on the waist. It's not super accurate. It's just a really quick and dirty way to do it, just because we need a general idea of where your body fat is when you create a goal. Obviously, if you've tested it, that's better for the app, because then the app has more accurate information to use. But entering your waist and just doing it that way can be fine as well. The formula we use is the YMCA formula. That's what we currently use to just get an estimate of the body fat. But yeah, if we could gather more information from users and possibly get a better estimate of body fat if we ask the user a ton more information. But I feel like we need to strike this balance of not asking too much of the user, yet still getting a usable number that we can use to get you started. And there's really nothing magical about your starting macros with carbon. Really, magic comes in the weekly adjustments. And same thing with like a coach. A coach is going to set you up where they feel is best based on all the information that they have. And they're not going to be too crazy like about, oh, this has to be perfectly here. They're going to get you started in a place where they feel is best, and then make adjustments. That's the big thing, is it's in the adjustments and how your body responds. Everybody's going to respond a little bit differently to their macros. So just get started with the setting on a coach, and then just let the coach take over at weekly adjustments. All right. How do you suggest someone track macros while eating intuitively? I have a history of disordered eating. Counting tracking can be triggering. So you can't. Intuitive eating, you're not going to be tracking, so they're kind of opposites. You can't track macros and eat intuitively at the same time. So if you have a history of disordered eating and tracking actually triggers you and makes things worse, maybe carbon isn't right for you, because it's really based around the tracking aspect of things. And so if tracking makes things worse for you, then I would not do that approach, and maybe take a more intuitive eating type approach to work on your relationship with food. And then maybe in the future you can come back to carbon, and carbon will be good for you, and tracking won't be as triggering. So just maybe don't use carbon at the moment. All right. When will the app program a diet break or reverse diet, or do I need to adjust my settings? So the app isn't going to do it automatically for you. It's based on when you feel like you want to take one. You would change your setting in the app. And so with that said, the app does give you like a recommendation. If it thinks that your metabolism is pretty poor, it will recommend reverse dieting. So there is a prompt in the app that will say, hey, it looks like your metabolism's slower than where it should be. Maybe you should consider reverse dieting. So that is built into the app, but it will not automatically switch the goals for you. Sorry for the glare here. It will not automatically switch the goals for you. You need to do that yourself. And so Carbon's really giving you the tools to reach your goals, but it's still up to you which goals you have for yourself. If I choose to eat plant-based, can I still benefit from your app in regards to the food portion? Absolutely. So Carbon doesn't say eat this food, eat this food, eat this food. It gives you macro targets that are based on your goals, and then it adjusts those each week depending on how you're progressing. So you can choose to eat whatever foods you want to eat to hit those macro targets. And we even have a plant-based macro diet preference in the app. So the diet preference settings in the app basically set the ratio of protein, carbs, and fats, so how the calories are distributed between those. And so we have a plant-based diet preference, which lowers protein a little bit, just because with plant-based diet, it's actually more difficult to eat enough protein. And so technically you need more. If you're going to have plant-based diet, you need more protein than somebody that is eating an animal-based diet. But we took the train of thought of what's going to be easier for the user to stick to, what's going to be easier for them to be consistent with. And we found that recommending a higher protein target is unsustainable for people with plant-based diet, and that would undercut their overall results, because if they're unable to be compliant, then they're going to make less progress over the long run. So we set plant-based diet protein a little bit lower, not crazy amount lower, but a little bit lower, just scaled based on the difficulty of being able to get in more protein with plant-based diet. So man, that sun is very bright. Okay. So yeah, that's a setting in the app that you can set. You can do diet preferences plant-based, and it will still work for you. So you can definitely use carbon. How can I incorporate cardio into my plan? You just do it, and then the coach is going to make up the difference. So do whatever level of cardio that you want to do, and then the coach will find the macros that you need to eat based on that cardio. So pick an amount that you want to do, that you find that you can be consistent with, and then let the app make up the difference there. And if you are, let's say you're on a setting right now and you want to increase the cardio that you're doing, if it is a significant increase from what you're currently doing, you might want to create a new goal, and then enter in what the new level of cardio is going to be, just so that it can give you a little bit more accurate macros for the starting right away. But if you are just a small to moderate change in cardio in your plan, I would stay on the same setting and just keep checking with the coach, and over time it's going to adjust to find where you need to be. So it's going to scale over the course of the next few weeks. So that's how I would incorporate cardio, is just, if you feel like including more, it's just a little bit, just do it, and then the coach will make up the difference. If it's a big change, go change your setting. Signing up now, yay. Oh, thank you, appreciate it. Let us know if you have questions with the app. If you're looking to learn more about how the app functions, the features, that type of thing, the help center that we have at joincarbon.com is actually very, very helpful. Imagine that. And a lot of people don't necessarily know about the help center, and they ask these questions that are readily available in the help center on Facebook and Instagram, YouTube, those types of things. So first, check out the help center. There's so much information there that can teach you how to use the app. The questions that you likely have are answered in the help center. If not, shoot support an email. You can reach it at support@joincarbon.com. Or, if you're in the Facebook group is amazing. Everybody's so helpful, so friendly there. Your answers will be answered there as well. So many ways to get help with the app, and the help center, though, I would definitely check that out if you want to learn more about the app. When will I know when to stop or reverse? If you are gaining weight too quickly, and let's say the app doesn't adjust your macros up for 4 weeks, let's say, in a row, that's really a sign that you've maximized your metabolism. If 4 weeks go by and you're not able to get the default kind of reverse diet increase, it's really a sign that you've really capped out your metabolism with your current training, cardio, activity level, that type of thing. So that's really the main sign that it's time to stop a reverse diet. Also, if you are gaining more body fat than you want, like you reach a body composition that you don't want to go past, then that's another time that you may want to just stop reversing. But yeah, those are the main signs there. Got time for a few more, maybe 1 to 2 more questions here I'll answer. And then I am going to need to hop off for the day, but appreciate everybody tuning in. Looking for some good ones here. Let's see, what are the best questions you got for me right now? If I change my goal, does the app still take into account all of the data you've entered so far? So when you change your goal, it asks you, do you want to use your current estimated maintenance, which is based on all of the information before on that check-in or before on that goal. It will ask you, do you want to use that or you want to calculate new? If you use that option, that use estimated maintenance, you're carrying over that estimated maintenance to the new goal. And then as you check in on the new goal, it's going to continually update that number and increase the accuracy of that estimated maintenance. So it will build up over time, but when you change your goal, it kind of copies over that estimated maintenance over into the new goal, and then it builds from there. So so it does take into account basically the information before on the goal before, and yeah. So hopefully that answers that question. How would you use the app for peak week during a bodybuilding contest? I probably wouldn't. That's one of the things where having an actual coach, like a contest prep coach, might be beneficial. That's something that Carbon really can't help you with. Thank you for all your help. It's good to know these lives go every Friday. Yeah, every single Friday, either myself, Lane, Holly, or all three of us hop on a live stream here on Carbon and answer your guys' questions about the app, anything you're struggling with in terms of fitness and nutrition, that type of thing. So yeah, be sure to tune in every Friday. It's usually in the afternoon sometime. I like to do them around 3, but I think Lane and Holly usually do them maybe closer to 12 or 1-ish Eastern time. But yeah, every Friday, be sure to tune in. And I will take one more question, and then I'm going to hop off here because I almost have no voice. I love the app. Just want to thank you. I have tried all the macro apps. I really appreciate that. That's really great to hear that, like, out of all the macro apps, you really enjoy ours and you find it's helpful. So I appreciate that. All right, one more question. Let's see. If you're confused at how things are working in the app, it's always best to email support. They can answer your question more specifically than I can on a live here. All right, I'll just take this one to finish this out here. Will the app take into account measurements in the future? That's a good question. We haven't really, I guess, fully considered doing that. The measurement thing is only right now to get an estimated body fat level, but having different ways of gauging progress, I think, is important. Things like measurements, maybe pictures, multiple different avenues of gauging progress is only going to help people in the long run. So I would definitely consider adding some more measurement type analysis into the app, but it would have to be done in a way that is intuitive and easy and simple and that type of thing, because that's our main goal is, keep the app very focused and not necessarily just throw every single feature that we can think of into it and make it bloated. We want to keep it very focused and really focus on maximizing people's results. So whatever we can do in the app that will help maximize somebody's results, help them be consistent, those are things that we're really going to consider adding into the app. So, all right, appreciate everybody tuning in. I didn't introduce myself at the beginning, but if you're still here, My name is Keith Kraker. I am a co-founder here at Carbon. We do these live streams every single Friday, so be sure to tune in next Friday. And yeah, I appreciate everybody. If you guys want to find out more about me and reach me, you can find me on Instagram at Keith Kraker. I'm one of the 3 people that Carbon Diet Coach follows. So if you want to find a link to my profile, you can visit Carbon's profile and check out who they're following. But yeah, at Keith Kraker on Instagram. Facebook, I don't use outside of the Facebook group. So if you're in the Facebook group, you can interact with me in there. And YouTube, I basically just watch YouTube videos. I don't post any YouTube videos. So I have a channel, but I mean, I don't really do anything on it. So yeah, Instagram is usually a good place to reach me, and then the Facebook group. So appreciate everybody tuning in. Hope everybody has a great Friday, and we will see you later.